Hello and welcome to the Mastermind, Body, and Spirit Show. I'm your host, Matt Belair. Today's guest is an award-winning, Grammy-recognized vocalist and one of the most sought-after singer-songwriter and background vocal producers in the music industry. His impressive resume includes some of the biggest recording artists of our times. His accolades include receiving Grammy Award-embossed plaque from NARAS for singing with Celine Dion on the Grammy-winning hit song My Heart Will Go On from the blockbuster hit film Titanic, which also won Record of the Year. He has recorded and performed with legendary stars such as Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, Jennifer Lopez, Sting, and many, many others. He is a humanitarian and the founder and CEO of Music Can Save the World and First Kiss Records. Welcome to the show, Skyler Jett.
Blessings, Matt. Thank you for inviting me. This is a wonderful opportunity. And it's always awesome to talk to another humanitarian. And so this is really fun for me. And it's an honor.
Thanks, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show. And when I started to look in your work, it's like peeling layers of an onion, because when that phone call came in, you talked about work in Africa. You're doing so many different things. You've been around for a very long time. Doing some really incredible work, really inspiring stuff. Why don't you give the audience a little bit of background on who you are, some of the amazing things you've done in music, and some of the things you're working on right now?
Well, I'm an avid singer, songwriter, and producer, and turned into a humanitarian about 15 years ago because I saw the plight of what's happening with the lyrical content with the young people. And so I saw that there was like millions of love songs, but there wasn't that many of humanitarian songs. And when I was a youth back in the 60s, I watched the young people stop the Vietnam War with music. And if you ever get a chance, for all the young people just listening, go look at Woodstock, because that was about stopping the war. Yes, it was fun, and maybe 500,000 people showed up, but it was the young people, it was the hippies that wanted to stop this war. So they started writing lyrical content about how they could stop the war. And that needs to happen again, right? So, I promote the human sound over computers. The internet's only been here since 1996. So if you imagine all the kids after 1996, most of them only know computer music. And it's wrong to me that we don't pass the human sound, real instruments, down to young people so they know what we felt, at least the people that's been here before computers. Because all those pioneers for us got us to where we are today. With computers, if you unplug the computer, you ain't got no music. But you can go get acoustic guitar, acoustic piano, acoustic bass, and you can still make music. So, unplug that and really go go and grab some instruments and get in a room with a lot of people. Because what's fun about it is the spontaneity, being spontaneous. And that's what you get from the human sound and the emotion, right? And I say this all the time, with the computer, you have to go program your thoughts into the computer and then read it back and go and edit or whatever you have to do. Well, if we get up on stage, we start making music right now, that's coming directly from source, from our heart, from emotion. And you're using this instrument for your sound. I say it all the time, if the bass player didn't show up back then, we didn't have bass. The drummer didn't show up, you didn't have drums. Today, man has outdone himself with these computers and the instruments, because now he believes that he can orchestrate himself, right? And some people, are better at different things. That's what makes us unique. Some people were born to play bass. Some people were born to play drums, right? And we need to celebrate all this music that got us to this place.
Yeah, I agree. I think you touched on a lot of really important elements because I think there's subtleties to it as well. Like when you go to a live performance and you have, humans doing it, when they're actually performing, a lot of things can come through that actual experience, with the crowd and the performance. It becomes something else. And especially something like I've never been to Woodstock. It sounds incredible, but I imagine, the people's energy with the musicians' energy becomes like a whole new thing. It kind of transcends just the original song that they're singing. And also the process for youth to learn with others. Yes. To learn an instrument, to cooperate with other people, to synergize with other people, all very important elements, rather than we're in this kind of like, I think you're speaking a little bit about the isolated society, big, huge headphones. We start with these small ones, big, huge headphones, hat, looking down, don't talk to anybody around me. We're creating in these spaces. There's a place for it, but there's also really big value with working with others.
Absolutely. I mean, when you go see a live band, and everybody's playing a different instrument. Imagine a child out there and they're going, whoa, what is that? I want to play that, right? How do I learn to play that? But if you go see a DJ, he got headphones on, me bobbing and weaving his head, and that's boring to me. They got to go get lights around him and dancers and all stuff. No, put a band up there on stage so these young people can see what that feels like. It's a different feel too, you know what I mean? Once you push that button, everything is mixed. Everything's the same, right? But if you go see a band, and like I imagine taking a 10-year-old child and I want to build a band around this child. So say I'm doing a demonstration. I go, okay, let's bring some drums up on stage. And we start kicking out the drums. Let the drummer, because see what's cool about the drummer, and when he come up, he's putting all these instruments in front of him, bells and whistles and cymbals and toms and floor toms and everything. Like he set all this stuff up in front of a 10-year-old child. Because if we keep going the way we're going, the child's going, hey, I got drums right here on my keyboard. Why do I need a drummer, right? And that's why a lot of people's out of work. And so you set the drum up, right? And then this guy gets some sticks, and his arms and legs is moving, and whoa, that kid's like, wow, right? So I wanted to do a demonstration where I bring a kid up on the stage, and you have like, a computer, somebody with their, room studio. Hey, what do you want to hear? You want to hear some drums? Yeah. And they go program some drums. Now everybody in the audience is going, hey, that's cool. I let that go on for about 2 minutes, and I go, hold on, stop. Then I say, point the light up there at the entrance. And so I want this guy to walk in with the drums. Now all the older people in the class go, hey, now that's my stuff there. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's where I come from, right? And you walking in, and he comes up on the stage and takes him out of the case and they start putting this stuff on. And the 10-year-olds look at you, wow, what is that? It's the same drums that was in that computer over there in the corner, right? But this guy gets them start doing that, and then I let that go on for a minute. I go, okay, you want to hear some bass now? And I have some guy over there programming the bass on with the drums. I let that go on for a few minutes. Then had the bass player come in, and he's struggling trying to bring this big old amp down, try to get it up on the stage and stuff like that. And then he got all these wires and stuff. He plugged it into this big old box, and then he pulls the bass out. And that kid is watching that thing and is fingering on that. Whoa, what is that? I let him play by himself for a minute. Then I put him with the drummer. But I want to set the kid right in the middle of the bass drum and the bass amp so he can feel it in his feet. It's a different feel. See what I'm saying? And it's underneath his feet. And that vibration from that is crazy, man. It's beautiful, right? I'm going to do each instrument like that. I play it on the computer, then bring in the trumpet player. Take it out of the case. All I want him to see is each instrument. I'm going to build a whole band of Earth, Wind, and Fire around him. Okay? He'll never want to look at a computer again after that.
Wow. Well, when you share that story or analogy or whatever you'd call it, it makes me think about just like it seems like you take the soul out of the music, and that's where you come from. Like, that's like your history. You lived through all of that, you know, that era. And there's such history in music, and different music for different times from different cultures and different experiences is so powerful. And it's almost like, you know, kids are getting the easy way out, not in a, you know, in a way where it's like, teach a man to fish, you know, then he can fish for a lifetime. You give him a fish, and now you're giving him the drums, and you give him all these things, where there's a place for that, but you're also losing some of the history, some of the soul, some of the culture. And it feels like that's a little bit of, you know, what you're speaking about. And I'd be curious to hear, like, you know, what was it like, you know, back in the early days? We talked a little bit before this. I just watched the Green Book, and I was like, you lived through that. You're literally playing music through that. And that movie was so good and so interesting. If you guys haven't seen it, it's basically about a black pianist going, was he like the 1920s, 30s, 50s?
I don't know what era it was, but I mean, if you look at, you know, I want these kids to go back and look at these musicians before computers, right? And see how talented these people are. Because you can go to music school all you want to, all the colleges and all the stuff like that, and learn all the technical stuff. But there's people that can learn that and play, and they're great. But there's some people that's born to do it. That's a different sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're looking at Stevie Wonder and James Brown and, you know, Barbra Streisand and Elton John, all these people, they came up from a youth holding on to this instrument, making their own sound out of it. That's a trippy thing, because you can give somebody a bass, but everybody has different fingering, you know? And it's a trip, because, you know, you can go listen to the radio after you heard Jimi Hendrix. You can go listen to the radio and put the radio and go, hey, that's Jimi Hendrix. Now, you're not looking at him, right? We didn't have no videos back then. You know what I'm saying? But certain people got a certain sound that they made with that instrument, and that made their sound. And see, the Most High, our vocal cords, everybody has a different, your sound is your sound. If I can look at you right now, and then I can take off for a week and call you, and hey, Matt, I'm not looking at you, but I know your voice. And that's your signature, like your fingerprints. Your voice is your print, right? And so work on that. And when I'm going out and producing vocals for kids and stuff like that, I tell them before they come into work with me, turn off the radio for 2 months before you come work with me. Because I don't want to listen to who you studying or who you trying to sound like. I want to listen to you, your sound, your tone, and your feelings. You know what I mean? And so for all, you know, yeah, do it out there singing top 40 and cover songs. That's all cool. But who are you? Who's inside of you? You know, we need to see who's inside of you. So I teach lyrical content. I teach you. But now the last 15 years, I go out and teach young people how to write lyrics about how to heal, educate, and solve problems. Could be around any instrument in the world. But I want you to talk about community, because you can do that all day long, do love songs and stuff like that. But I challenge them. Is there something in the world that if you could change, right? You know, that's a trip. Hold on. Is there a way to pause it? Is there a way to pause it? No. My son's brought his friend in.
That's okay. You can, yeah, if it's live, this is part of the fun. I can edit it out later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Shadori, be quiet. I'm on.
You can bring him in.
Be quiet.
Part of being a dad. It's okay.
You get
in the house. Yeah, no, that's fine. I've had kids walk in before, so it's totally cool.
Yeah. So it's really important, man, for the young people to feel what we felt and how we got here, right? And I look at the whole, you know, I wrote a song one time called "Blame It on the Bee Gees," simply because in, you know, like 1977 and 79, when that whole Night Fever thing came out, right? I was playing with my band, man. We was doing this club, like, you know, 6 nights a week, right? All the girls showing up, and the club owner was brilliant, because what he did was he would let all the girls in from 7:30 to 9:30, and no guys could get in the club. So we were the only dudes in the club on the bed, on the stage. And they'd be getting drunk, and we have them dancing and good. They going, and they couldn't wait till the guys got there. So when the guys got there, these girls would grab those dudes and pull them in and pull them on the dance floor and stuff like that. It was crazy. It was a brilliant move. But only thing, it was great. I love this guy. But so we doing this 6 nights a week, right? And so I'll never forget when that record came out, Saturday Night Fever, right? So the club owner calls us and he said, hey, Skyler, you know, I need to talk to you guys after the gig tonight. I said, okay, everything cool? He said, yeah, we'll talk. My nerves is wrecked now. I thought you know, so we get back there, he goes, hey man, you know, I'm gonna have to let you guys go. I said, man, this is crazy. You got a line out the door every night. Why are you gonna let it go? He goes, you know, I had this guy in there the other night, this DJ guy, and he was playing this music, this Night Fever thing, and everybody's going crazy, and the places are packed. You know what I mean? I'm paying you guys $500 a night, and I paid this DJ $50. It's just business, right? And so he fired us, man. He fired us, and that was the end of the whole era for musicians making money in clubs. Is when that record came in, because now it went to DJs, right? And people spinning records. It put a lot of musicians out of work, right? And so it really hurt my feelings. So then I moved to Hollywood, you know, and I got down there and started, man, I had to go get a job driving a truck for a stationery company and stuff like that, right? And that went on for 2 years until I auditioned for the Commodores. And I went down to Alabama and auditioned, and I replaced Lionel Richie in the Commodores. So then, you know, I got to travel to 31 countries, you know, singing all his songs. But then after a couple of years, I said, man, this is cool and stuff, but I'm still like a top 40 singer. You know, nobody's ever going to discover me because I'm singing somebody else's songs. So then I go and tell these young people all the time, who's inside of you? Let's find out who's inside of you. Write your feelings down. Let me show you how to put a melody on that, right? And then you become your own sound. You know, there's a movie, I think it's called 20 Feet from Stardom. So you got the background singers, you got whoever the star is up there, you know, and they make more money than you, but they're doing the same thing you do. It's only because they're doing original music. And so if you ever want to move up, you're going to have some courage and start writing your own music, become your own entity, right? Yeah, man.
Man, yeah, I agree. You said a lot of stuff there. I think it's really important, and I think it's going in the direction of something I want to ask you about is, you know, music for global change, because you've spoken a few times about, you know, having the courage to write about, you know, some of the global problems or what you're feeling or things like that. And one of the things that I've said before when people have asked me on different podcasts and interviews is like, well, what do you think we should do to change the world? And I said, one of the most powerful forces is music and the lyrics that are coming in there, because I've studied hypnosis and brain programming and, you know, mass persuasion. And it originally started because I didn't understand war, and I wanted to figure out how the world war started and what kind of psychology they would use to make people kill other people, because we don't want to do that. You know, 99% of us do not want to do that. We don't want to harm another person. We might get mad at them, but we definitely don't want to pull the trigger. And if you watch the movie Men Who Stare at Goats, they found that the soldiers would shoot a few feet higher than the enemy's head. And that's when they came out with the silhouette, I believe. And so they would just take away the face of the person to teach them to hit the body. And so, you know, when you're hearing these lyrics in the club and all through the radio, Canada, US, there's just all this, you know, perpetual nonsense like, you know, get drunk, shake your booty, you know, spinning wheels or whatever nonsense. It's pure garbage. That I got upset. I'm going to bring it up now. That Kanye song with Little Pump, you know that one? The direct lyric, you should listen to it because it's awful. But it basically says, the lyric is this: use a hoe, I love it. And it repeats that one line over and over with all this other stuff. Like, that's how you hypnosis. One of the strategies is repetition. So it repeats that. Like, what does that do to the consciousness of a whole group and era of people? And so it seems like some of what you're advocating for is lyrics that have meaning, that have soul, that have purpose. And the power of that to be mass distributed, I feel like, people really need to understand how much of a shift that would make in our consciousness. And then you go into TV and other different things, but music especially, because that's what it's for. That's where music came from. And we're losing that. And it's been getting way worse the last 20 years, as I'm sure you've witnessed.
Yeah. Well, like my heroes in this was, back in that time in the early 70s and stuff like that, was Marvin Gaye. So Marvin Gaye was doing the same thing. He was, like I was doing, singing a lot of love songs and all that stuff like that. And then I'll never forget, it was the Vietnam War. Berry Gordy was the president of Motown Records. And he said, what kind of concept do you want to go at now? And Marvin said, hey man, I got to write something about this war, man. He said, well, man, wait, hold on. Those girls are going crazy over you, man. Why would you do that? You're going to mess up your money. He said, no, man, I have to say something. I have to tell people what's going on. And that's the name of the record, What's Going On, right? You can go listen. That record came out like 45 years ago. You can go listen to that record now. And I encourage the young people to go listen to it right now, because the lyrics that he's talking about back then is happening right now. Right? That guy was a prophet. If you go listen to the What's Going On and Mercy, Mercy Me and all the lyrics, Fish Full of Mercury, all of that. He's talking about the environment, all of that in that record, right? And then you got John Lennon, right? Imagine, right? And he was with the Beatles, but he got bigger when he started writing lyrical, conscious lyrics. And then you got Bob Marley, right? So those were my heroes at that time, because, and you look at U2, yeah, they were big, but when they started writing lyrics about how to change some of this social conscious stuff that's going on, some of this, you got to bring it out, let people see what's going on, and see music is the #1 language in the world, right? Way before internet, music could reach everywhere. So that's how we got to use it. And so for me, I got to this point where I said, okay, man, I'll tell you what my mom used to say to me: if you want to get attention, let everybody zig and you zag. That's how you get attention. You do something totally different than everybody else. Wear something. What are they wearing tonight? Oh, they're going to put a suit on, right? If you do something different, you get noticed. So I said, okay, it took me 6.5 years have you ever heard of a band called Sly and the Family Stone?
I don't know. It sounds a bit familiar, but I'm not sure.
You've heard them, but you probably, they had tunes like I Want to Take You Higher or I'm Everyday People.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's Sly and the Family Stone.
Nice.
Well, he was a hero of mine at 10 years old. He was a DJ. And I'll never forget it, he announced, I got a new band, and everybody's like, man, you a DJ, you can't sing. I'll never forget him saying that. And this dude turned out to be the biggest funk star ever, right? But the trippy thing is, so I teamed with his younger sister, to bring his band back out, Sly and the Family Stone. And I mean, people were hanging up on me because, he had a little problem, with the thing. He had a little problem. And so nobody wanted to hire him and stuff like that. He wouldn't show up at the gig and all that. So I had people hanging up on me. I said, yeah, man, I got Sly and the Family. Boom. I wouldn't even get it out sometimes. Sly, boom. It was just hanging. It kept hanging up on me, man. So it took me 6 years for me to find the right person that got it. And I found this agent in Florida, and he was a big Sly fan. I mean, all over his walls, everywhere. What? You can get, I said, yeah, I'll introduce you to his sister. And we were teammates at the time to bring this thing out. And we wind up bringing him back to the stage for 13 gigs, right? 10 here in Europe and 3 in the States. And, you know, I got ridiculed, but then, you know what? I did it. You know, I did it. It's kind of like what's happening with Tiger Woods right now. He'll never win another championship, and then he wins, right? So you try to keep putting people down, and they'll shock you. You know what I mean? They'll make it happen, right? You can't give up. So I got him out, and I was listening to, you know, I'm out there singing with him on stage and stuff like that, and I'm really listening to the lyrics. Matt, back in the day, most of them songs only lasted 3 minutes. It was over, right? Some of these songs now are long, right? But you had to get to the point, you know? And so I started listening to I'm Everyday People. I Want to Take You Higher, right? All these were positive lyrics. So once I finished that whole thing, I said, you know what? I want to go in that direction. I hear these kids, hey, look at my pants, you know, look, you know, I shot somebody last night, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. So I said, okay, I figured out positive energy. I figured it out through lyrical content, right? So I go do a show and I let everybody do their lyrics. I say, okay, guys, you know what? I'm gonna talk about something positive. That goes right over a lot of people's head. You know, they don't show it on the news, none of that. So I get out there and I start saying positive. And afterwards, man, we need more of that, Skyler. I go to Rwanda. And after I do my show in Rwanda, people coming up to media, hey man, that's what we need, man. We need more of that in our country. You know, you got the Jay-Z and all these guys coming over here, and you know, Biggie's they're all talking about their pants and you know who they killed in the neighborhood, you know. And here you come over here talking about how we can help each other, Skyler. Matt, I can't tell you how that made me feel. So I went into seriously writing after that. I write about education, women's empowerment, the homeless, right? Just so many styles of positive music. So when I go in and I speak to young people, I challenge them, right? And here's the other thing that I found. I would do this like demonstration, right? And a bunch of musicians, college kids out there, and I go and see some people just write lyrics. And then there's other people that just write music, but they don't communicate together. So I would do this. I come out, let's check it out. Hold on. How many people just write music? How many people just write lyrics? I'll be back in 20 minutes. Go shake each other's hand. And they writing each other, and I always get this thing about 2 days later. Hey, Skyler. And it's just something about this, the way they say, hey, Skyler. I already know they wrote a positive song, right? Yeah, I got with this guy, you know, that night, and we writing together, and it's liberating, right? Because, you know, the lyricist, I can't write no music, and the guy who writes music, he can't write no lyrics. But if you bring them together, man, which I was doing, man, it just opens up this whole paradigm of positivity. So my thing when I moved from over here, which is a little over 300 million Americans, there's 960 million Europeans, right? 1 billion Africans, 1 billion Chinese, 1 billion Indians, right? And so what I say, okay, what if I go to these different countries, go find these people playing totally different instruments that I know the kids at home have never seen before, but then they can put their beat on it. And man, that caught on. So what Music for Global Change was, what that thing is about, is I want to introduce all these, like this. We have this kind of Zoom and Skype. You know, I've written, I don't know how many songs on Skype, but a partner of this, he over there with his keyboard, I'm writing lyrics, right? We can do that. It's free, right? So I go and get musicians from Switzerland, producers from Switzerland, and then I've been on over 2,500 records. So I know a lot of people in music. So I go get my singer friends all over there in the United States. I say, hey, man, do you want to write with this guy? And I get them on Skype together and they start writing. What's cool about that, Matt? Here you are inviting me, And God bless you for that, brother. Check it out. I don't know all your friends, right? Right now, you're introducing me to your friends. And I can't thank you enough for that. But at the same time, when I hit my friends, they meeting you for the first time. So we starting a whole new fan base, right? A whole new fan base. And if you look at it, okay, let's look at Toronto. That's where you're at, Toronto?
Yeah.
Okay. If we just took 100,000 people in Toronto, how many million people you think is in Toronto?
I should probably know that. I don't know. I think it's like 2 million. I'm not
Okay,
sure. I have to Google it.
Okay, but okay, say we just took 100,000 of them, right? And so now a musician goes, hey man, if I can go and ask 100,000 people for $10, that's $1 million. You didn't need the 2 million. That's just 100,000. So if you can go get 100,000 people and they just like, hey Matt, would you spend $10 with me just once a year? If I went out and got 100,000 people, that's $1 million a year. You see what I'm saying? So I start thinking to myself, there's got to be at least 1 billion musicians on the planet, right? And I'm saying this live with you right now, although I got some people helping me put it together. But music, we can take care of each other. Because if there's 1 billion musicians, and I'm just talking about, okay, let's just get the ones that play in the nightclub. So I go to a guy and say, hey man, how many drinks you gonna have tonight? I might have like, 3 or something like that, right? I say, well, you think you'd spend about $25 a week on drinks at the club? Oh yeah, way over that. I ain't talking about the alcoholics, right? Okay. So I say, check it out. If you gave me $25 a month times 1 billion musicians, that's $25 billion. Think about all these people out of work, right? Think about, I broke my guitar. We can help you get your guitar, right? Think about you died and your family can't pay for your funeral. We can pay for your funeral. We can take care of each other with this kind of co-op thing that I'm creating around Music for Global Change. It's $25 a month, right? Something happens to you and I can't work no more and say, hey man, we can take care of each other. $25 billion a month, we can take care of each other. Why are you waiting on a record label? We can go get our own studios and start our own record labels. Stop waiting on somebody to come help you. How's that sound?
Wow, man. It sounds like some sort of like global music union and like
Music for Global Change. That's what I call
it. Your name is much better than the way that my mind is putting it together. But, it's interesting because some of the comments you're kind of making is just like the basic premise is that music brings people together. You talked about the people who write music versus the people who write lyrics, bringing them together, letting them communicate, because there's two people coming together to create something. And one of the things we haven't touched on yet, but is really interesting, is like you have two, both your grandparents come from different interracial backgrounds, and you live through all that kind of stuff. And racism you lived through a lot of that racism, a lot of that stuff, and it still exists today. And we have society is basically built on separating us through different ways. I'm tall, you're short, black, white, different culture, different language, and because they're separate, let's not communicate. And everything that you have learned and experienced through music is people coming together, being in community, the band interacting with the audience as one thing, the band taking care of each other, taking care of other bands, and I see it as in sport, where the challenge I see in sport right now is all about, my local team beats your local team. My kid is better than your kid. There's one champion, when it's just like, you could think of it in a totally different way and be like, this is my town. It's an opportunity to meet the people and the community in the other town. It's just a different view, and what you're doing is like, that's naturally what music always did. And so it's like you're almost advocating for, keeping the soul of music, because it's starting to disappear through just cultural
technology.
change.
Yeah, technology. Yes. So when you talk about the racism, see, I don't know racism. I mean, And I've been called the N word all over the place. I used to live in Winnipeg, and I've been called all up north. You don't have to go all the way to the south for that stuff. People look at your skin color and judge you, right? But my father's mom was Irish and Cherokee Indian, and the Cherokees are down in the Oklahoma area, right? And then my mother's father was French and Choctaw Indian out of Mississippi. And, so I have all these cultures inside of me. And so my grandparents always taught me about, if you care for somebody, it doesn't matter how they look, none of that. It's about feeling. How do they treat you, right? And so when people start talking racist stuff to me, I think they're ignorant. And I call them out on it, right? Because we went and got every race of kids, took them to a park, and they're 6 months old or 7 months old. Put them out there on the grass. They'll never ask each other what color they are. And they're all playing. See, it's the elders teaching these kids that ignorant. And we need to stop that. That's like a treadmill. You need to stop that going, right? Because nobody cares. If your buddy is black and all your friends say, hey man, why come you hanging with that dude? I hang with him because he treats me well. I got people in my own race that don't treat me well. Are you kidding me? That can happen in any race. There's good people and there's bad people and people with bad intentions. But the only thing that we have that's really a beautiful thing, and the thing that we have to grow the most is because more people want to get along than people that don't. And we have to keep sharing that and grow that, right? And I got this thing where I do, you go somewhere and everybody's complaining and doing all that. And I go in and say, hey guys, you know what? We can do this and this happens and all that cancels out all the negativity. See what I'm saying? Let them talk all that. And then you go, man, I saw this thing the other day. We can help each other with this. And then everybody goes, yeah, I saw something like, and then it changes the whole attitude. Positivity can drown out negativity if you use it like that. So that's why I use my lyrics to heal, educate, and solve problems. But I do it around just amazing instruments. And so now that I'm on this side, I'm so excited about going to different countries and finding instruments I've never heard before, and then figure out a way to put my groove on top of it, stuff like that, right? And the song that I have out, Equal, right now, I basically started that out with a tabla from India. And I can take the tabla to the ghetto where I'm from, and those kids go, what the hell is that? I like that, right? So bringing in all these instruments, because I've never been to a place on the planet that didn't have music. See? So yes, man, it's important what I'm saying with music for global change, because I want to figure out how we can take care of each other where we stop waiting and depending on other people to help us, right? We can do that for each other. When you go to a store, you know what I mean? You got somebody behind the cash register. You're not doing that job. Everybody has their own purpose. And that's how we take care of each other, through our own purpose, right? And so I want to be a fireman. Well, that's nothing you thinking about, but you're going to need that person. And we need you for what you do, right? That's what makes us unique. That's what makes us, this web that's what makes your web stronger for all the things that we do.
That's amazing, man. I think that's a really incredible idea and project. And one of the ways I kind of thought about it is when you go to like Vice or something, they'll go to very obscure spots and they'll get the history. And it'd be so interesting with those instruments, like where they come from, to know the history of it and to bring them back. And it connects cultures. We have war with other countries, but it's not the individual. It's not the citizens usually that are saying, there's some countries that have been like battling for years, you know what I mean? But like, you can kind of let that go, especially through music. In most countries, like, you can bond through something. Sometimes it's through sport. That's my, background, but music is global. And so if you've got one musician and another musician and you're sharing and educating and you see the history of where the instrument came from, how they used it, how they bring community together. That's the important piece. And so then the idea now is this is like, we have this cultural idea that gets impressed upon us. This is like, your culture is versus my culture. So my guitar is better from your, whatever the case you have is, right? Rather than fusing them together, understanding the cultures, and then coming together.
That's exactly right. And I love that word, fusing together, because, we can bring all these instruments on stage and let them all play together. That's a different sound, and it's world. I just want to open it up to all the children in the world to have a chance to do what you love, and we inspire them because, there's things that I want to take out. I did an article one time about the things that I want to take out of music since this whole, it's been where music not only been diluted, but it's coming to an end in the industry. It's in peril, right? And so if we're going to start over again in the music business, then let's take out the things that was wrong in the first place, like racism in music. Take image out of music, and then take age discrimination out of music, right? Because what you was talking about before, the thing about it is, it doesn't matter how old you are, right? It's a trip, because some of the old groups that you might know, that you like when you was you don't even hear about them no more. And some of them could be out there still performing, but then the radio won't play them because they judge them on how old they are, right? That's wrong. Music is something you listen to. It's not something you look at, right? Take image out of music, because maybe some unattractive child, right? And we judge them on that, and we didn't listen to them, and they might have been the next Beethoven or Tchaikovsky, but we judged them on the way they looked. That's wrong to me. Age discrimination. If you got a piano and you take the kid up and you say, son, this is the key of C. Can you hit that key? Boom. And class, what does it sound like? Sound. What does it sound like? The key word, right? That's the key of C. You take an 80-year-old man, come up, sir, would you get the key of C? Boom. Class. What does it sound like? Take age discrimination out of music, because it's how does it make you feel? That's how music is. Music is an emotion. How does it make you feel, right? So, and then, like I said, with the technology thing, right? I don't want to take that away from the young people, but it's not fair that they don't that they don't go back and hear where this all started. And humans have a different sound. And I said this the other night when I was doing this radio show. If let's go out and play some blues tonight, okay? And we play tonight. Now it's cool, yeah, just feel good, Then tomorrow night, let me step on your foot before you go on stage. It sounds different. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna sound different, bro. Oh. That's real.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I totally agree, and I just see all these like themes throughout this, how it matters on a global scale, and it also matters on like a micro scale within the communities and different things. And from my experience of North America, Canada, and the US, and how people experience music today is very, very different than it would have been each decade, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 4 years, 40 years. And there's a lot of missing elements of what we have going on today. So I think that what you're speaking about is really important. And my favorite part is the positive lyrics, but also have an understanding of, if you can go to these different cultures, different parts of the world, create an understanding. It also creates an interest for all the other musicians around the world just to see something else. People do it in different ways. Like I said, sport, but also food is one of them. People who really, enjoy food, they go to the different spots, but then it becomes, you're seeking understanding, right? When you're curious, you want to know about their culture, their history, what they go through, how they think. And that's wonderful. We should be seeking understanding from each other, rather than that's different. I don't like your guitar. We should shoot you just in case you come over here. It's very different. Don't play with my kids and your kids. there's all these subtle things in there that get experienced through what you're talking about. So I think it's really powerful stuff. The last thing I want to make sure that I asked you about was you touched on it a little bit at the beginning, but you said you have a project in Africa. I was just curious what that was about.
Yeah, I'm working on a project where this foundation is interested in my schools around positivity, right? Because I want to go into all kind of, there's so much talent on the continent of Africa, but then they don't have any administration. They don't have any record labels. Portugal neither. I play in Portugal, and there's so many great musicians. Guys play 3 and 4 instruments, but there's no outlet for them, right? And so that's why this whole Music for Global Change project is about that. Because I want the kids over in America to hear all these great musicians on the other side of the earth, right? Matter of fact, I used to have a radio show myself, and with a friend of mine, Denise Newton, and once a month we would bring on an act from Europe, right? And once we get them on, people go, wow, I never heard of them before. There's a reason for that. Because there's such an abundance in North America of talent over there, they can't even get all the people in over there, right? But it's wrong to me that I can drive all the way through Europe and hear all the North American music that I want on the radio. I can channel surf and all that stuff like that. But it's not fair that, in Europe, you got the Beatles, you got Sting, you got Rolling Stones, and, Seal, and, Sade, you got, but it's trickled down. But it's so many amazing musicians on this side that, and I helped produce with a friend of mine, Urs Wiesendanger. He's a producer, one of the biggest producers in Switzerland. And he asked me to come over and help him produce this sister. She's half Nigerian and half Swiss. And I went over there and did that, did like 4 songs and stuff like that. And then we got them out, and I had her on my radio show. And so this promoter got in touch with me and said, Skyler, you're about to be famous, man. I said, what are you talking about? He said, man, do you know most Europeans dream of an American even hearing their music? And then the bell went off. Ding. I need to make that happen. So that's why I'm going to get singers from that side to write with musicians from this side and vice versa, and open up this whole new fan base, right? Bypassing all the record labels. Like I said, you don't need 100,000 people at $10. That's $1 million, right? So just go at these small groups, 100,000 people. Both you guys get together and go, hey, buy my music, and then I buy your music. We're taking care of each other. Pretty simple.
Yep. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
and I really like it, and I think that what you're doing in Africa is super important. Like, to bring education and ability to get it out there. I have a few friends that are musicians, and it is a big issue. They've asked me, because I have a marketing background as well. They're like, what would you do to like play music? And for me, growing up like a skateboarder, snowboarder, things like that, is there was never a lot of money in it. So I was like, well, do it for the love, first of all. If you do it and you hone your craft, there's going to be a way that you can create a living from it. But the way that the industry is now, it might not be what it used to be. So the whole industry is going to need to adapt. You know what I mean? And if people can make a living, you might not, it doesn't need to be Justin Bieber making $200 million and he's on the radio globally. But if we can use, real fans, real people, real talent in ways that support the music, the craft, the message, then that is a very powerful idea.
Yeah, it is. And it's easy to do. See, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to start my after school programs where, school's not fun. You're there till 3:00. It's not fun, right? but in order to I know a way we can keep those kids safe after school by doing jam sessions after school, right? So, you bring your instrument after school from 3:00 to 6:30, you bring all your instruments. Now you got all these kids coming after school to jam with each other, right? And this is taking kids off the streets where they can get into mischief, right? Hey, I'm going to jam tomorrow. And then Skyler had some people show up that was famous and they saw us and some of us got discovered and all that kind of stuff like that. But if I start these after school programs everywhere, they're jam sessions where you, after school, you just go, I don't care if you're bringing a cowbell or a tambourine, but because it's that social thing together. You know what I mean? And I talk about this all the time, man. Put that phone. I barely text. I'm not a techie guy, right? But I see these people walking down the street. You see them, Matt, when you go downtown, they're walking like this. And they're walking into each other and bumping into each other, stuff like that. We didn't have none of that, right? We actually had to talk to each other like this, man. You know what I mean? So that's more personable to me. Put that thing down and talk to me as a human being, and let's go get some other people involved. And that's what we got to do. We got to get people back involved, and then turn off that propaganda, the boob tube. Turn that thing off, man. Right? Get a bunch of friends and talk about it. You know, and then go in there and talk about something that's positive. Right? Go talk about something. This is what we could do. Here's a solution. Right? Instead of the problem. Anybody can talk about the problem. That's easy. What's the solution? That's where I'm at, brother.
I agree so incredibly wholeheartedly. You know, it reminds me of this quote that I forget who said it, but it's like, never underestimate what a small group of people can do, because it's the only thing that's ever changed the world. I've butchered the quote, but I think people, you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah. What is it called?
What's that?
What is it called?
I'm going to look it up. Never underestimate what a small group. There we go. I'm going to bring it up so I say it correctly. I know the idea. Okay. It's Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And so, you know, that's the concept that you're talking about. And like, you know, if you had 5 buddies, you know, that are musicians, they create a song, and then all of a sudden one of those songs reach 100,000 people or 1 million people and it has a positive message, that counts. If you come together 10 people in your community, you don't have to change the whole world. You might change the community for, you know, your 50,000 people, 100,000 people, 200,000 people who live there, by creating an after school program, by creating some sort of park where you give an opportunity for the kids to grow and learn something, meet the parents. Like, that's good. That's interacting with your community. That's improving the quality of life for the people that you are around. Yes. You know, but it requires you being social enough to get off your phone, to have a reason to come together, you know, and integrate into society what's actually happening in your reality, rather than always tuning out. And the thing is, I also think one of the themes we're talking about is when you tune out on the boob tube or radio, the mainstream now, in Buddhism, they call it mental nutriments. I just call it brainwash. You know, if in my ear, it just says murder, 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 kill, drink, murder, kill, that affects my consciousness. It can't. I have to understand it. And that's literally what's happening on television, radio, and news. It's the theme. It's crazy.
Exactly. I mean, when you watch the news, it's not about good news.
No.
It's bad news. At the end of the show, they might say something, oh, this guy wouldn't help this lady across the street. So, I mean, you know, but imagine if we had good news channels. How about that? You know, to be like, oh, I'm tuning in because yesterday, you know, this guy told me how, you know, I always wanted to learn this thing, and this guy came on and told me how to do it, right? I mean, I'll never forget a dear friend of mine he was international marketer for Hewlett-Packard, and Hewlett-Packard invented the computer. But he knew the guys who started Google, right? They were 2 buddies of his. So one guy goes to the other one. He goes, man, you know, we got all these servers over here. What are we going to do with them? And the other one goes, why don't we just answer questions? They never got any dirt on their finger. None of that. Yeah. Wow, brilliant, right? So after the first year, they barely broke even with it. So they went to Yahoo and they said, hey guys, you know, we put $1 million into this, man, but you know, we just broke even. Why don't you guys buy it, you know, take it over, buy it back from us for $1 million? And Yahoo turned them down. Now Google is bigger than Yahoo. So it's these ideas, you know, that's amazing. I mean, look, Paramount turned down Star Wars. You think that dude that made that decision still got a job? You know what I'm saying? So don't never underestimate the power of positivity and how we can change the world. So like I said, with my after school programs, I'm gonna do that in the United States too, and on the weekends. Bring your kids out and just, you can drop them off for 3 or 4 hours. Now you guys can go and have some fun together, the parents and the kid. You know the kid's safe because they're in there jamming with everybody else and playing with it, and that becomes fun. You look forward to it every weekend, and that's what we had. You know what I mean? There's the Soweto Gospel Choir. I met these guys here in Edinburgh, and a beautiful gospel choir. And the guy found out what I did, and he said, Skyler, my dad started this choir, and we're all big all over the world. He said, but I'd love for you to come into Soweto and talk to the kids over here, because do you know the kids can't take music until they're 18? Yes, that's exactly how I looked. That's crazy. He said, yeah, they can go learn it at a church or something like that. But Scott, I want you to bring your music programs into, man, it might be a 3-year-old. That might be like crazy, right? You can't do that to people. It's always people that don't play music figure this is a good thing we should do for, No, man. Get as many kids to go and pick up an instrument, have fun together, and socialize and that, talk to each other. There's nothing wrong with talking to each other. You can misinterpret something on your texting people or something like that. Well, why'd you say that? Oh, I didn't mean it. What? Just, I want to hear your voice. I'd rather hear you lying to me than me reading it. You know what I mean? So we have to communicate with each other. We're human beings. It's what we're supposed to do. So that's why I love bringing all kind of people together in a room. And I'm telling you, man, it is the most beautiful thing to me when I have people to just write lyrics, or people to come together. Because I didn't think about that. Let me go find a musician. For years, I just wrote lyrics. So my friends would give me music, and I haven't listened to the radio, although I've been on many successful records. I don't listen to the radio, right? When I'm in my car, I don't listen to the radio, because people would give me music. I put back then they had, what do you call it? The
tape deck?
Cassettes and CDs and stuff. I put them on, and I'm listening to all this music this guy's got, and I start singing over it, man. The next thing you know, I start writing some lyrics, right? And see, in every conversation, there's going to be several topics, right? People don't know I'm writing that topic down, especially if a whole lot of people got involved in that topic. I write that down, and I'll take me about 15 topics in my car, right? I'm giving away my secrets right now, but but I take about 15, because the topic is basically the chorus, the part that everybody sings. It comes up in the song 3 or 4 times, right? So I take the topic and I lay it down right there, and I put some tracks on, while I'm driving. If I start singing over it, and I look down and I go, wow, and I sing that topic, that title, man, I just started the chorus to my song, right? And then the verse is your opinion about the topic. I teach this stuff. And when I talk to my kids, wow, Dad, wow, okay, yeah, I get it, yeah. And a lot of times if you don't put it together, I put it together like that, because, a lot of times when I go to the studio, we was doing Mariah Carey and Boys to Men and different like that, they just set the lyrics up on the stand, and you walk in. This is the first time anybody sang it, right? They got the lyrics up there, and shoot, man. Then somebody would call me up and say, hey, man, that song you sang on, man, it's on the radio. Okay. It's a trip, man, because when I sang on the Titanic, man, that was crazy, because I was in my car and my friend would call, hey, man, you on the radio right now? Really? And I turned it on. Whoa, man, and they turned the channels on another station. Whoa, Matt, it's trippy because Celine's from Canada, right? Do you know Will Jennings and James Horner wrote that song? And it turned out to be an experiment, because James Cameron, the director of the film, he really didn't like a lot of vocals in his film, right? But James Horner, who was his music supervisor, writing all the music, he had Will Jennings, his buddy, wrote some lyrics. And then they called Celine over. I'm giving you a scoop right now, brother. Okay, so he calls Celine over, and so Celine goes over and sings the song, right? And so they go, wow, this is beautiful, man. And she's like, whoa, I'm loving it too. This is great. So they say, let's play it for James Cameron. The nerves is up because I don't know lyrics, right? But they played it for him. Not only did he love it, he said, I'm gonna make this the cornerstone of my movie. So he weaved that song all through the movie, man, right? Now here's the trippy thing, and this has never happened in music at all. Celine goes, hey guys, you know what? I'm doing my record right now. Do you guys mind if I put that on my record? Why not? Right? Because nobody knew how big it was going to be. Matter of fact, the producer who called me over to his house, and five of the other singers that I sing with all the time on a lot of records, right? We all show up. What are you doing? What are we doing here? How come everything's so covert? Because he wouldn't tell us, you know. He didn't want to tell us that Celine's going to be. Maybe I would have charged him a little more. You know. So anyway, she goes, can I put that on my record? So then she called my buddy and say, because I'm not singing on the one on the movie. There's no backgrounds on that. I'm singing on the one that's on Celine Dion's record. And this has never happened in the history of the Grammys and all that. So at one time, the song for the movie got up to number 1. Celine records come in and it starts climbing the charts. And it got up to number 2. This is the same song. That's never happened before. One without backgrounds and one with Coke and Diet Coke. You know, so you got her, but this would happen, Matt. Hers with the background flipped the one on the movie. And that became the number 1 song. It was the record of the year, 1998, right? So now, man, they playing my backgrounds on the Oscars and on the Grammys and the American Music Awards. And I'm hearing my background. I'm like, this is cool, right? I'm getting these little checks coming in. You know, I'm like, whoa, this is cool, right? So do you know Celine made $52 million that year? She just sang on the song, man. She didn't write it. 52 million. So you can imagine what the writers, that one song, they'll never have to work again from that one song. But this is the crazy part. So we get into the control room, right? My producer, he goes, hey man, come on in, man. James Horner called me, man, and Celine, they want to put backgrounds and stuff like that on there. They tried to do the damn Titanic again. He said it just like that. Like, ain't nothing gonna happen with it, kind of thing, right? It turned out to make more money for him than because for the first 6 albums, man, he did all the music for all of Mariah Carey's records. She wrote the lyrics. He made millions from that, right? This turned out to be bigger than all that stuff, right? And so one song, and Matt, after that sent me into craziness on writing. I'm like, man, if I could just get the one song, I'd be set for life. I can go on vacation for the rest of my life. My only problem would be, what color do I want that in? You know what I mean? So that's that story of that, right? And like I said, man, that inspired me to write. And that's why I go out and show these kids, you get the right one out, you take care of your family, right? If you get it out. But then, look at the guy who started Apple Music. Was that Apple?
Steve Jobs?
Steve Jobs. Check this out. Let me show you how brilliant Steve Jobs was. Okay, so this is just my feelings about what happened with 9/11, right? And I'm talking about my industry and what happened to my industry. So when those towers went down and stuff like that, what's the first thing they do? They stop flying the planes, right? Well, in my industry, how you gonna get all the CDs over to the record stores if all the planes stop, right? So that stopped. He peed on everybody with that, because in them 2 towers, that's all the middlemen in the world, in those 2 towers. So in my industry, look on your family budget. Where's music? It's way down here, man. You know what I mean? So musicians, now this is what happened. This is why they could get out of their record deals. Because at that time, say you signed for 7 years, right? But there was a breach of contract, because the thing about it, you go, okay, listen, the record label was supposed to get my record out on this date. They told me I was going to be on tour by this date and all that. And that didn't happen. So musicians could get out of their contracts, right? And they did. Here's the crazy thing. Say you and I owned a record label, right? And we had 10 acts. Maybe we got 5 of the acts in the studio working on their new records. The other 5 was on the tour. Well, think about all the groups that you had over in Europe. You can't get them home now. How about that? But you still got to pay for their health and welfare. So all the lawsuits start. That is what took the industry down right there, all them lawsuits. And so here steps Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs goes, hey, what's wrong, musicians? Oh, man, I'm supposed to have my record out. They told me I was supposed to be on tour and all that stuff like that. He goes, hey, you know what? I got all these servers over here. Why don't you just throw your song up for 99 cents until they figure it out? He made all the money. He was smarter than the record labels. So even though it's 99 cents, he was taking 30 of it. Imagine 30 of it times how many records was uploading from each musician's, right? So now you had to learn about the distribution. That's your distribution now. You can put it up where somebody can go find it. But Steve Jobs didn't tell nobody your record was there. You still got to go tell your fans, hey, my record, you can get it over here now. So that's what happened to the music industry, and that's why it's changed. And see, now that's why musicians can't hardly make any money. 99 cents, you got to get 1 million people to make $1 million, basically, right? So you have to figure out other ways to do that now, but it's still, thank God, it's still the best thing for you to go get in front of a crowd, you know what I mean, and make a living. This is what we didn't have before, Matt. So say you and I, we on the stage and we looking out and we play this song. Well, we can see everybody like, whoa, yeah, that's happening, man. That's cool. And you looking at it and you go, ooh, look at all that energy, right? Now you can go, hey, did you like that? Text me right now. You can buy it right now. You made another $700 right there. Instant gratification right there, right? From that person. And you remember, if you go to a concert afterwards, you go stand in line because you want to get an autograph and have them sign your CD and stuff like that. Now, everybody got a cell phone in the palm of their hand, right? I can buy it right now. I never had to move from my seat. We didn't have that before. So I like some of the technology stuff. I just wanted to get back to the real sound. Man, thanks for having me, brother. I know.
Yeah, man. Well, it's been a privilege, dude. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing everything you did and some background scoops. And I just love the themes, weaving throughout it. It's really just to bring about, it seems to be bringing back the soul and spirit of music, but that also is what connected community. It transcended race and culture and all that stuff. And it's done so many beautiful things for humanity. And it seems like we're in an age where music, at least mainstream music, it's on the mainstream. It's lost that soul and culture. It's gone to something else, and it's something that I've noticed for a long, long time. And I think that your initiative and your thoughts and philosophies, I hope, are spread, because I think it's very, very important and very powerful. So just thank you for coming on. Thank you for your work and projects and your intention and everything that you're doing. Is there anything that you want to leave the listeners with, where to find you, any closing thoughts?
Yes. I'm at musicforglobalchange.com, or I'm on Facebook, right? And share love, spread love, and peace always. Just think about peace always, put the guns down, put the knives down, right? And, it's really easy not to hurt somebody else if you do it like this. Say we're standing in front of each other with a lot of energy and one person starts raising the level. All you got to do is move over 2 feet. They move over 2 feet this way, you move and keep walking. You'll never see each other again. That's better than taking somebody else's life. You take somebody else's life, now your life is done because you're going to jail. What did that accomplish you, right? So it's easy. 2 feet that way, 2 feet this way, keep walking. And the world is so big, you'll never see each other again. That's how we save each other, brother.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate you, man. We'll stay in touch. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Oh, bless you for having me, man.
Yeah,
and
thanks.
bless all your fans. God bless you. Okay. Much love, bro.